Coming up on Mornings on the Hill, does Syracuse have a new mayor, or did the incumbent win re-election? We've got election night results as our reporters recap the races.
A return to vinyl. We'll tell you why more people are getting their music the old-fashioned way.
And in weather, we start sunny, but there's snow in our forecast.
We'll have those stories and much more coming up on Mornings on the Hill.
Good morning, I'm Gabriel Vega. Thanks for joining us for Mornings on the Hill.
And I'm Allison Turner. Voters throughout central New York and around the United States went to the polls yesterday to decide a host of races and issues. In the city of Syracuse, the big race this year, the race for mayor. Incumbent Ben Walsh was victorious over his opponents, including Khalid Bey.
We once again proved that a broad, diverse coalition that puts people over politics and consistently chooses to rise above can win.
Another big story from the city this election day, low voter turnout. With fewer than 20,000 people casting ballots, that's nearly 6,000 fewer voters than the last mayoral race in 2017. In the Onondaga County Legislature, the balance of power remains in the hands of the Republican Party by an 11-6 margin. In the city of Syracuse, the Common Council remains in control of the Democratic Party. In fact, Mayor Ben Walsh was the only non-Democrat elected to office in the city. All other elected offices went to the Democrats.
Election day isn't just for people over 18 years old. Lauren Umbrecht tells us how people of all ages were getting in on the voting action.
Kids of all ages came along with their parents to vote on Election Day at the Manlius Village Center. And while not all of the children could fill out a ballot of their own, they could walk away with something valuable.
Have you come to vote before, or is this your first time?
It's like my millionth time.
For Anderson Fluker and his dad Kwame, going to the polls together on Election Day is a tradition. Kwame encourages Anderson to ask questions and participate in the democratic process, and has for Anderson's whole life. Kwame is looking forward to the day Anderson can vote himself.
The seed we planted, my wife and I, over the past, 9 years now, it'll be great to see it come to fruition, 9.5. So it'll be great to see it come to fruition, and hope that he'll carry that legacy on as well.
Anderson wasn't the only kid hanging around the poll center, and while some young children were interested in learning about elections, others were just there because of convenience. For some families, they've seen their kids go all the way from asking for an I voted sticker to earning one themselves when they accompany their parents to the polls. Andrew Dingle is a Syracuse University student and could have voted closer to campus, but he chose to come back to Manlius. Andrew wanted to go to the polls with his dad, Daniel, like he's been doing since he was 8 years old.
It's some time I get to spend with my parents that I wouldn't get to spend otherwise.
Oh, it's totally fulfilling, and it's more than just on election day that they ask the questions.
Daniel loved the questions Andrew asked him when he was younger, but values the conversations about candidates and proposals the two now have as voters, something young families like the Flukers hope to have in the future. Manlius Village Center poll workers were chatting and encouraging the kids who were there at Election Day. Not only were they handing out I voted stickers, but they also told the children, thanks for bringing your parents to the polls. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Lauren Helmbrecht.
Poll workers in Cicero say that turnout numbers were much higher than they were expecting. NCC News reporter James Catato tells us how younger voters showing up to Believers Chapel had something to do with that.
According to Census.gov, the 18 to 24-year-old age demographic had the lowest voting turnout during last year's presidential election. This year, county officials are saying that Syracuse's elections on the local level are seeing more of a youth cast their ballot. Lemoyne College junior Chris Subert is 20 years old. He says as younger people start to grow up, it's something they should think about.
I think it's very important because especially being in college, you're starting to become like a more involved member of the community.
Now, Subert reiterated multiple times in our conversation how important it is for the youth to get out and vote. But it's not just him, it's his friend group at Lemoyne College. They keep up with the news, they keep up with tabs because they want to make a difference for their future.
And we all go out and vote, and yeah, all of us think it's important to do.
Subert says schools he's attended throughout all levels are stressing now more than ever that younger people get out to the polls and vote when they're eligible. He thinks that'll make a difference for the future.
People start doing more research in high school, they start doing more research in college, and the more younger people you get involved, it snowballs into more and more younger people coming out.
Subert says he hopes this changes the way people look at democracy for years to come. James Catato, NCC News.
And that youth vote may have contributed to the re-election of incumbent Mayor Ben Walsh, as he's declared the early winner of the mayoral election. Official results are coming soon.
Well, as we've mentioned, Election Day has come to a close, and most votes are in, but history shows men and women haven't had always the same opportunities to vote. Our Kritzia Williams is live to show us how one polling site manager is excited to see that turnout of women at the voting site this year.
Thanks, Gabe. The passing of the 19th Amendment opened the doors for women to be able to vote. A CNY polling site manager actually was very passionate about women being able to vote and using the voice they now have.
This is important.
Suzanne Cocola is a site manager for the WCNY Voting Center. She says her position as a site manager is important to her, and she values the right to vote.
This is what would be considered a smaller election, yet this is very, very important. We're voting in a judge, and we are voting on 5 amendments to the New York State Constitution.
Cocola says at 10 years old, she knew the impact voting had. Times have changed since politicians have traveled door to door to share their campaign values. But
voting allows us to hold our politicians accountable for the things that they say and the things that they do.
There are more than 300,000 registered voters in Onondaga County, but women haven't always had the opportunity to wear the I voted sticker.
We've only had the vote for 102 years.
According to the National Archives, women have fought for decades for voting equality.
It's about us being a part of the whole and realizing that we make a difference. Our vote counts.
Cocola says women before us fought hard for equal voting rights, and it's important to take the time to vote.
Every vote is worth your time. Every vote is worth you being there.
Cocola reflected on the fact that women can now vote and have died in the past for women to be able to vote today. And she said it's so important to exercise that right that we now have. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Kritzia Williams.
There is plenty of electoral action happening across the country as well. Republican Glenn Youngkin flipped the Virginia governorship. In New Jersey, Democrats are still holding out hope that the incumbent Governor Phil Murphy can hold his seat. And our neighbors in Boston are celebrating a progressive milestone for the city. Boston has elected Michelle Wu for mayor, the first woman and person of color to hold the position. And in Minneapolis, a ballot measure to replace the city's police department with a public safety department failed. Coming up here on Mornings on the Hill, it's getting chilly outside. It may be time to layer up.
And we're seeing sprinkles in our forecast. Stay tuned to find out what that means.
This morning felt a lot more like winter, right, Allison?
Yeah, that's for sure. Adriana is with us in studio to tell us what to expect with the weather.
Hi folks, and I don't know about you, but I walked out of my apartment and turned right back around and grabbed a parka because it was cold this morning. Let's take a look at our current conditions. Currently feeling like 40, which isn't too bad, but it's actually feeling more like 36. So if you're still at home, grab that extra layer. You're gonna thank me later because again, it's starting to feel more consistently cold. Good visibility, 83% humidity, but taking a look at the rest of the day. Now, I've got some bad news. There might be a light dusting of snow, maybe some sprinkles of rain coming our way. No need to panic though. It's not going to accumulate. No need for shovels. Driving won't be interrupted most likely. Again, we're still not quite sure if it's going to be rain or snow, but there's a chance that it's coming. It's that time of year now where we ask, is it going to snow? And the answer is probably yes. Now for the rest of the evening and the night, clearer skies going back down to 37, 34. So if you're going out to dinner in the middle of the week, again, bundle up. Now, later this week, I've got some good news for you. It's going to get slightly milder, right? Where sunnier days are coming, and it's going to be hitting actually low 50s all the way on Sunday, which is great news. But again, we're seeing more consistently colder temperatures, so 45, 49, and you can see that in the mornings, that low 29, 30, 31. So budget that extra time in the morning to sit in your car and heat up because your car is going to thank me for it in a couple of years. But I don't know, these temperatures are looking a lot like Christmas to me, but that's something that we're going to debate with the rest of the MOTH team coming up. That's it for weather. I'm Adriana Rosas Rivera. Back to you.
Thanks, Adriana. Although warm weather does not look promising for us now, what does look promising are the latest COVID numbers, because it actually shows that no new student cases are present. According to the latest COVID dashboard, which was just updated yesterday, there are 12 active cases on campus. That's 5 fewer than last week. Again, there are no new student cases. However, there is 1 new case among staff, and overall the positivity rate is at 0.02%. As a reminder, we are still in code red for masking on campus. This is due to continuing cases throughout Onondaga County.
Booster shots are now available. Syracuse University students, employees are now eligible to get the COVID-19 booster shot. The Barnes Center is offering booster shots and recommends if you have received a Moderna or Pfizer vaccine to get the Moderna or Pfizer booster shot. Although, if you have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, you can get any of the 3 booster shots. The Johnson & Johnson booster shot clinic will be held on Wednesday, November 3rd. Moderna, Thursday, November 4th, and Pfizer, November 5th.
On Sunday morning, Syracuse University's Department of Public Safety reported an incident near the corner of Ostrom and Euclid Avenues. The incident happened between a group of teenagers and another person, where one of the teens had a handgun. No injuries were reported, and the teenagers were last seen running on Euclid Avenue. All of the individuals involved are not affiliated with the university, and the investigation is still ongoing. Records are making a return. Not the Guinness Book kind, but the kind DJs sometimes use, vinyl records, which at one time were known as LPs or 33 RPMs, are fast becoming one of the most popular forms of listening to music. Colleen Johnson went to one local record store to find out why.
There we go, and then I always like to set my little timer here.
Imagine opening a new business during a pandemic and then only hiring high schoolers. Well, Kiwi's Treats on South Salina Street did just that. Shankivia Dean opened Kiwi's Treats this summer after her lemon cookies, also known as Heaven Drops, went viral in the community. Dean says she's grateful that she can provide Syracuse City teenagers with a place to work.
I contracted with CNY Works. They offer employment for youth ages 14 all the way up to 18, I believe, and then they have jobs, for kids that are 18 and higher. But I had the luxury of getting 6 kids placed here at my site. And was able to work here with me.
Not only does Dean provide students with jobs, but she also offers cooking lessons.
A sprinkle on the top.
Letitia Harper is a foster mom of 8, and several of her children learn at Kiwi's Treats. Harper says both her and her wife really appreciate that Dean focuses on teaching real-world skills like cleaning, cooking, and customer service.
Just to come home and have our older kids just say, listen, try this treat here because I learned this from Shakivia or Miss Kiwi's Treats. It's a big blessing to us. So we do appreciate her in the community for the job that she is doing with our children just as well.
Kiwi's Treats is open Friday and Saturday from 5:30 to 9:30 p.m. And sometimes they're open from 7 to noon on Saturdays. You can find more information on kiwistreats.com. You know, I'm not really a dessert person, but this is the best cookie I've ever had. Maya Powell, NCC News.
Some controversy has been brewing around the newsroom this week. We all have some differing opinions on when it is acceptable to start listening to Christmas music, on November 1st or wait until after Thanksgiving. Personally, I start listening on November 1st. Gabe, what do you think?
Oh yeah, November 1st, Michael Bublé All the Way, his Christmas album. I listened to that, and I put my Christmas tree also around those days, November 1st. So all good for me. What do you think, Lauren?
Hey, we have to respect fall. It's definitely the day after Thanksgiving for me. What do you think, Adriana?
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you, Lauren. The way we do it down in Puerto Rico is Christmas starts November 1st and runs through mid-January. Don't cut down my fun, Lauren, please. What do you think, Caitlin?
You know, I'm going to have to agree with Allison. November 1st is when it's going to go. You can't limit me to a month of Christmas music. It's just not allowed. Back to you, Allison.
100% Caitlin. We've actually been listening to Christmas music on repeat for the past few days. Caitlin even texted me at midnight, so excited to start listening to it. And what do you think? Let us know on social media if you listen to Christmas music now or you wait until after Thanksgiving.
Coming up, Syracuse men's basketball close out their preseason strong, and high school football teams are gearing up to play for a spot in the dome. All of that and more in sports coming up after the break.
Syracuse men's basketball looking primed and ready to make another deep run. Good morning, I'm James Catato. After beating up on their fellow friends from the other hill, Lemoyne College, 90-50, the Orange finished their preseason undefeated at 2-0 and have seen some solid contributions from everyone involved. Of the new players on the team, transfer Cole Swider has arguably been the brightest star of the bunch, averaging just under 20 points over the two-game stretch and shooting the lights out of the gym, going 9 for 15 from 3. Freshman phenom Benny Williams, transfer Symir Torrance, and of course Jimmy Boeheim have all made their own impact for the Cuse and look like promising assets. Maybe Sean Tucker has started to rub off on the whole campus, because it's safe to say Coach Boeheim has been pleased with his team's performance heading into the regular season.
But there was a lot of good things from these two games, quite a few days yet to get ready for the first game. And but these guys are doing everything we've asked them to do, and they're in a good position right now.
The Orange take their court for the first game of the regular season Tuesday, November 9th. I can't believe it's so close when they take on Lafayette. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. And during an emotional pregame ceremony, Syracuse field hockey honored and celebrated its 2021 seniors during the final game of the regular season. With their friends, families, and coaches by their side, 7 players and the team's manager were recognized for their accomplishments with the Orange. But when it came time to play, Cuse closed out the regular season the way they started it, with a win. This one coming in dominant 6-0 fashion over Cornell. It's the second time they've beaten the Big Red this season, and their contributors were more of the same. Karina Comans, Laura Graziosi, Afke van den Nieuwenhof, and Olivia Bell all tallied goals for the Orange, and they finished up the regular season 12-4. They clinched the 2 seed for the ACC tournament, and they'll take on 6-seeded Duke in the quarterfinal this Thursday at home. And as Syracuse football's regular season is starting to wind down, high school football is just heating up in Central New York. It's the first time in 2 years teenage athletes will have the chance to play their Section 3 final games in the Carrier Dome. Now, those games start next week, but they got to get through their semifinal matchups first. So let's take a look at those. Starting things off in Class AA, the top-seeded CNS North Stars will host a long-standing rival in Liverpool under the Friday night lights at 7. On the other side of the bracket, Corcoran, shocking a lot of people this year. They have the 2 seed taking on the Bees of Baldwinsville in Corcoran at 6.
Moving on to Class A, undefeated Indian River takes on West Genesee, and Fayetteville Manlius will host the Brothers of Christian Brothers Academy. In Class B action, this one is interesting. The top 2 seeds in the section are both undefeated. Syracuse Institute of Technology will have to travel to Utica to play the 1 seed New Hartford. Other end of the bracket, Homer hosts VVS. Now for some Saturday games. For Class C, it starts out in a matchup of Lakers. Perennial powerhouse Skinny Atlas will look to repeat section titles. They got to get through Cazenovia first. And then 2-seeded General Brown will take on the Gaelic Knights of Bishop Ludden on the other side. And finally, in Class D, undefeated Dolgeville hosts Cato Meridian and Sandy Creek, making a trip up to Boonville to play 2-seed Adirondack. It's a great slate of games coming up this weekend. As teams move on to the section final, we'll have full highlights from the Carrier Dome. Guys?
Still to come here on Mornings on the Hill, free speech takes on many forms. Recently on campus, it took on the form of a drag queen show. We'll take a look at what it looks like on Mornings on the Hill when we come back. Welcome back to Mornings on the Hill. Free speech takes on many forms, and this week it took on the form of a drag queen story hour.
Our own Lauren Helmbrecht joins us now with the story.
Children's books and access to the public library were key points of conversation at Friday's Drag Queen Story Hour, put on by the Tolley Center for Free Speech and a Syracuse University public relations course. Drag Queen Story Hour is a nonprofit organization that has drag performers host literacy events for children in libraries across the country.
Welcome to Drag Queen Story Hour.
The executive director of Drag Queen Story Hour, Jonathan Hamlet, came dressed to the nines as Ona Louise. Louise led typical Story Hour activities like find your own drag name, sing and dance alongs, and reading children's books for Syracuse students. What started as an event reading books like these to children found itself in the center of a debate over First Amendment rights.
But we've had backlash.
Professor Roy Gutterman leads the Tolley Center for Free Speech at Newhouse and says the fact story hours are held at libraries is a key point of contention.
The battleground here has become who gets to use this public space. We've got competing interests, and everybody has a right here. Everybody has a seat at the table, everybody has a right to speak.
Drag Queen Story Hour has dealt with pushback and protesters, who Gutterman say have a right to be there.
We have the First Amendment rights, the participants of the Drag Queen Story Hour, to congregate in a public place, in a public forum.
Ona Louise left with a smile and one message for people protesting Story Hour.
Just go to one. Go see one in person. We read kids' books, we sing kids' songs, and we do arts and crafts. So it's like a fun time. We just are more fabulously dressed up than your regular storyteller.
Drag Queen Story Hour events are open to the public. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Lauren Helmbrecht. Back to you.
Syracuse University Esports is teaming up with the Children's Miracle Network Hospital by simply playing games.
Mornings on the Hill reporter Alexis Raleigh tells us how SU students are raising money on a charity stream.
This coming weekend, Syracuse University will be holding a charity event while having fun. I spoke with several SU students to get more information about the upcoming event. On November 6th through the 7th, esports at Syracuse University will help raise money and awareness for sick children. The event is called Extra Life, where students play from 8 in the morning till 9 at night, streaming their favorite games. Esports director Lauren Wenner says she loves the opportunity esports has given her and her classmates. Wenner says the other events that esports will have will also bring people in for the charity event.
The Smash event usually gets anywhere from 30 to 50. Special events, it depends. The Mario Kart events are a little bit lower than the League events, which usually got a lot more. We have a huge League community on campus. So it depends on the game, but usually it hovers around 30 or more.
Irving Brown, an exercise science major at Syracuse University, spends his off time in the esports gaming room, connecting with his friends and having fun. Brown is also looking forward to the event that is taking place this weekend.
So it's more like a place to relax. Like after I do all my work, classes are out the way, and I just come here, play with my friends that are back in the city, and I just relax.
All SU students are allowed to attend the charity event happening Saturday and Sunday. It's located at the Barn Center at the bottom floor in room 046. For more information on Extra Life and the charity stream, you can follow them on Twitter at twitch.tv/esports@SU. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Alexis Raleigh.
For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Gabriel Vega.
And I'm Allison Turner. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.